First of all, thank you guys so much for coming out. And also, I'm going to do an upfront thanks to New Relic for letting us use this space. Very friendly of them to do that. So thank you to New Relic. You can clap. So in case you didn't notice, the password, if you need the password for the network, if you don't already have it, is there. Now it's gone. So thanks to New Relic. Also, Premise catered the food tonight, so thank you to Premise as well.
Super distracting.
Yeah, we're working on something. We hear it. It's not just we've got live stream on, and we're live streaming this at the moment, so
Yes, we are live streaming tonight. It's a special night. I'll have the address for you soon. Is the weird echo thing still happening?
Yeah.
It is still happening.
Is the mic behind you on?
No. I promise. Okay. Well, I'll try to keep rolling with it here. So, sorry about the echo. Thank you for coming out. Thank you to our sponsors. I have a few announcements that we're going to go through, and we'll have some time for some announcements from the community. And then we're going to get into some presentations. Ben and Berkeley came up from San Francisco to do a conference this weekend. They're going to talk about that and give you a little taste of Redux and stuff they might be working on this weekend. We just had that one talk tonight, so we're going to kind of give the night to them. They're going to take their time, and then we're going to move on to some fun lightning talks. So that's our agenda for the evening. I have one slide here. These are sort of our announcements. We have this is the link to the live stream. If you, for some silly reason, need it here, but maybe you can share it like in your social networks. And then we need talk proposals for events like this. And we also have a Slack channel if you'd like to join, if you haven't joined already. You just go to that link and then it'll make it so you are joined. And that's all the announcements we have. The announcement about the building, the bathrooms are... Where are the bathrooms?
I actually have no idea. Just walk that direction. There's a security guard there. Ask where the bathroom is.
That's the elevator hallway to the right, on the right.
There you go.
Okay.
Just keep going right.
Bathrooms are through the elevator corridor and then take a right, and then they're on the right. And that's the only announcement I have about tonight. I'm going to take maybe 5-10 minutes to do some community announcements. I'll bring the mic around, and then we're going to pass the mic off to Ben, and he's going to give a little intro on real world React. So are there any announcements, like jobs or something like that? Something you like, some cool project you want to tell people about, you want people to work on with you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mylan. I work for a small, local, well-funded startup that is looking to hire a mid to senior level React developer. You should get a hold of me whenever there's a break in the action, and I will talk to you about it.
For them. Can you say it?
We're
Super stealth.
shh.
Just announce it to 100.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other announcements from folks? I'm getting already.
Hey guys, I work at Premise, the source of pizza for the evening. So we are also looking to hire mid to senior level React developers. We are a well-funded and startup whose name you can say. It's a really cool company because we are operating in the social good sphere. We help people all over the world make supplementary and sometimes primary income by doing crowdsourced data collection that helps also funnel back into their local community by, like, say, identifying possible sources of Zika, carrying mosquitoes, or helping improve the local road infrastructure, or tracking like food availability and price fluctuations in local markets. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please talk to me. I would love to chat more about it with you.
Thank you, Eric. Anybody else have announcements?
I'm Neil Lofgren, I'm with Fortel. We're a local startup as well. You can say our name. Just come find me after. We're looking for not specifically React developers, but front-end JavaScript, UI, UX, into upper-level experience. And we're just received funding, and we're growing, ready to bring some more talent on board.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I work for Mirror, and I have nothing to say about React except for we're hiring back-end Java people that you can write a back-end for a React app, if that's totally good. Or if you know somebody, that works as well. So let me know if you are interested in Java. This is a totally wrong form, but I don't really care. Thanks.
Cool. Any other announcements?
Good evening, I'm Justin Palmer for CDK Global. We're on the south side, downtown Portland, and we are hiring for a lot of skill levels and a lot of technologies. C#, Java, JavaScript, a lot of JavaScript focus. We don't do any React, I'm sorry to say, but we would like to.
What was the company name again?
CDK Global. You're not building a super weapon.
All right, we have time for maybe one or two more announcements if other folks.
Hey friends, my name's Colby. I work for a company called Reflect. We are the API for data visualization. We're hiring React developers or just anyone interested in JavaScript, wanting to learn more or work with React. But you can find more out about us at reflect.io, as well as like a link to our job postings. And we're funded. Thank you.
All right, one more maybe. Oh, well, thank you all. So we're gonna get started with our talks. Ben's gonna come up here and give a little intro to their group down in San Francisco, and then Berkeley's gonna come up and do a talk. So once again, thank you all for coming out, and we'll do a break after Berkeley, and then just do like a go to the bathroom break, and then come back and do some light talks. So thanks again for coming out.
Hello. Everyone hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Because I can't hear me, but as long as you can hear me, that's good. Display ports. It worked in the test earlier. You did it. That's fun, right? You know, years ago I actually worked on a hackathon to solve this issue. But it was a hackathon. So we did. Do you have actual HDMI? Cool. Looking it up. Looking for the alternative yields excellent results. Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin Dunphy. I am part of an organization called Real World React. And Real World React likes to feature talks and workshops on using React in real-world production applications. We're SF-based, So we are up here at the invitation of your lovely organizers, Jason Brown, Ben Carr, Eric O'Connell. Did I get that right? Oh, Eric. I don't think we met, so hi. Nice to meet you. Cool. So actually, can we give them a round of applause because it's been awesome. Little cross-city React collaboration going on. So tonight you're going to hear from my partner, Berkeley Martinez, who is the CTO of freecodecamp.com. Have any of you heard of freecodecamp.com? Keep your hands up if you've used it. All right. Good to hear. I'm sure that'll make him happy, as well as the CEO as well. So you're going to hear from him about Redux and RxJS. But for me, it's really interesting being back in Portland because I was actually here in 2014 going to Epicode. Any Epicoders here?
Yeah.
All right.
Or will be.
Yeah, what's up?
Or will be.
Oh, nice. Congrats. Yeah, so it's actually really cool being back here. I went to a bunch of meetups in New Relic while I was here, mostly for Ruby, but we're getting into React now, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm sure the people in this audience are as well. But as much as I love Portland, our home is in San Francisco, and our next meetup is looking to be great. It's going to be really fun, so if you happen to be in the area on October 18th, or you'd like to make the trip down there, we're going to feature a very special guest panelist. Does anyone know who Tom Okino is? Yeah. So 2 years ago, he gave the talk that really got me into React. He introduced React Native. And that's, I don't know about you guys, but that's really what sold me on React, because I was like, wow, now I can use JavaScript to build cross-platform applications. And that's absolutely huge. And you have big production companies now, like, I don't want to say any names, but they have apps where they're building cross-platform, Android and iOS, where they use 80% of the same code base. I mean, come on, that's a game changer, right? If you can have the same developers, JavaScript developers, which is the most widely used language in the world, you can have those developers build web apps, mobile apps, Android, iOS, and now Windows. I mean, that's just insane. And the React team over at Facebook and the open source community are doing excellent things to create amazing strides in React. We're also going to feature a talk by Ben Diego, and we're at Eventbrite, and Meetup's going to be at Eventbrite, and he's going to talk about using React without Node. But if we don't see you there, perhaps we'll see you next February at ReactCon. Speaking of which, how many of you have heard of, not ReactCon, but ReactCon? Show of hands. Not surprising because we just announced it in San Francisco, which is kind of a bubble, some of you may know. How many of you have heard of ReactCon? So if you haven't heard of ReactCon, it's pretty self-explanatory. Facebook puts on a conference every year for React. It happens usually in San Francisco around February, Q1. So how many of you have heard of ReactConf? How many of you have tried to get tickets to ReactConf? How many of you actually got tickets to ReactConf? Yeah. How did you do it? Did you write a script? You get a bot? Or you
I think it's, I don't know. I don't want to say, but maybe it's because I'm a girl.
Let's see. Well, either way, awesome. Which year did you go to? Did you go last year?
Last year.
Last year. Nice. That was a good one. I didn't go though. I really wanted to go, but I didn't go. I mean, I saw round 2 be announced, and literally seconds later, gone. Beaver was jealous, I swear. Okay, so we know about ReactCon. So we at Real World React, we're trying to kind of alleviate this problem of the exclusivity associated with ReactCon. Not that they're excluding people, but just by sheer amount of demand. You only have so much supply. So we're announcing 5 days of talks, workshops, and meetups. Maybe a hackathon. Cool stuff. We haven't decided on everything yet because it's pretty new. We're calling it Reactathon. So I'm sure there's plenty of intelligent, hardworking people in this room So we're looking for speakers, workshop instructors, and if you're a company who would like to participate in it, either on a material level or just in name only, with responses as well. So go to reactathon.com, just a landing page, nothing spectacular, but there you'll find a call for workshop instructors and call for speakers. You'll also find the sponsors page. So if that sounds interesting to you, that's happening around February. We need to wait until Facebook has confirmed their date for ReactConf before we can actually do it, because we kind of want to do it in tandem. Okay. One more quick announcement. Not this one. This is me wetting my palette. So Berkeley and I are here, not only for Berkeley to give a talk this evening, but we're also going to do a workshop. The workshop is called, let me actually do the last slide, Advanced Redux. And how many of you have seen this workshop, maybe the page? Okay, check it out. It's on the Portland ReactJS Meetup page where the link to the full description is. If any of you were intimidated by the advanced aspect of it, we are going to cover the Redux and best practices. So it's not going to be so advanced that it's out of reach for most people. It's going to be fundamentals, best practices, getting organized. And what we're building is an e-commerce app. Pretty simple. If you like fruit, you're going to love this app. We're going to go search. Let's do a quick sign. Okay. So Michael Phelps, he's back from Brazil, and he just loves fruit. Alright, so cool. Our cart's empty. So I'm going to favorite the grapes. Michael loves his grapes. And so Honey's going to favorite that. We'll add these two to the cart. Alright. Go to the cart. This is all built with React, Redux, RxJS Observables. So you get to learn how to build e-commerce app using some of the leading best practices today. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. We'd be really excited to have you. So with that, I think that's everything I want to say. So, thanks for having me. Look forward to talking to you.
Cool, great. Thanks a lot, Ben. So we're going to have Berkeley come up, and he's going to do a talk on some Redux fun times. So welcome, Berkeley, and you got a lapel link there.
Is it working? Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Let's see if we can get this working. Awesome. How's it going, everybody?
Living the dream.
What?
The dream.
Awesome. First of all, I want to apologize for two things. One, for not being social at the beginning of the meetup here. I was kind of busy wrapping up little final changes. Pro tip: never make changes the day of the presentation. Make sure it gets done. Two, also because I'm not giving the talk that I said I'm going to give. Instead, I'm going to give a talk about Redux and RxJS and Observables, and I hope that's okay with y'all. I was originally going to give a talk about Free Code Camp and our transition to React and Redux and our single-page app. Fortunately, there's been a couple of hiccups, so I decided not to give that until we actually release that. So, if you are interested in seeing that kind of stuff, talk to me afterwards and give kind of a rundown of what happened and what we're doing to fix it. And So, the first question is, how many people here are React developers? Sweet. That's a lot. Good. How many people here actually use Redux in their React apps? Awesome. How many people use Redux but not React? Really?
Yeah, Angular.
Use Redux and Angular?
Yeah, for the shop I work for.
Okay. Are you using Redux or Angular NG Redux?
Yeah.
Okay. So you use RxJS.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit here and there. How many people use RxJS? Okay, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, maybe. How many people know what RxJS is? Awesome. Okay, that's good. And so the term observables is not too unfamiliar here. Some people have heard about it. So what I want to talk about is using RxJS and Redux outside the context of Angular. But yeah. So the talk is Redux and RxJS
Turn
is
it up a
equal
little
to.
bit. Mic up a little bit.
Rotate your mic up a little bit though.
How about now? Better?
Yeah.
Awesome. Apologize for the people in the back. Yeah, so Redux and RxJS is equal to party parent. How many people have used Slack on their teams or at work? How many people have party parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't use the actual GIF. Apparently, some people have issues with the movement, the colors, static image. Hope that's okay. So who am I? I'm a developer at Code Camp. I'm also again a partner with React. I do a lot of teaching, coding mostly. So I'm Berkeley True on the internet, pretty much everywhere. So if you find Berkeley True in some obscure forum, it's probably me. I'm also an RxJS advocate. I really love RxJS. I think it's bomb. I think it's the best way to do asynchronous in JavaScript. There's no comparison to anything else. So I'm a little biased here. I'm also a self-taught programmer for over 2 years. I think it's been like 2 years and a half now. I'm also a fellow human. I am not reptilian. So what are we going to talk about? Observables, right? Observables are awesome. I'm going to talk about why they're awesome. And I'm going to talk about async in Redux. And how to observables in Redux. I'm going to give a little bit of a intro to RxJS, since not too many people here are familiar with it. It is a really hard concept to grasp, but it's super, super great to actually code. So hopefully I don't lose too many people here, but trust me, if you start coding with it, it makes a lot more sense than all the little technical terms that I'm going to be throwing at you here. So hopefully my explanation will be a little more understandable. So what is RxJS itself? So RxJS is a library for creating observables. Rx stands for reactive extensions, so it's kind of this paradigm of reactive programming. Or some people like to call it FRP, or functional reactive programming. That's a little debatable. A lot of people, especially the creator of RxJS, doesn't like using that term. It's a whole other story. I'm not going to go into it. So what's one way to describe an observable? So an observable is a function that takes an observer and returns another function. So I'm going to be borrowing really, really heavily from Ben Lesh. So how many people know who Ben Lesh is? I was hoping for more people. Yeah, Ben Lesh is a pretty cool guy. He works for Netflix. He's a senior front-end engineer. He is essentially the creator or steward head of the new version of RxJS that's going to come out. It's the version that ships with the new version of Angular that's going to come out. So all this stuff's kind of in beta, but I talked. Is it actually out?
Official final
Yeah.
release yesterday.
it was getting pretty hairy there, so I'm glad they made it. So hopefully RxJS 5 will be like they're done. I think that was the reason why it's been taking so long. It's kind of tied to Angular 2. So yeah, like I was saying, Ben works for Netflix. They use RxJS 5 a lot at Netflix. They're not using it in like critical path. Like you're not probably streaming through RxJS when you watch House of Cards or whatever. But they are using it at some high traffic points internally. So it's almost ready. RxJS 4 has been out for years now. So that's, you work for a company. RxJS 4 is a good way to sell. So we go back to the definition.
Shameless plug.
Shameless
plug.
Against the definition, a function that takes an observer and returns another function. So what is an observer? So an observer is a plain old JavaScript object, right? So nothing really fancy. It's got 3 methods: next, error, and complete. Okay, that's it. 3 methods, 3 functions. What about the function it returns, right? So if we go back to this slide, function that takes an observer, so we know what an observer is now. What is the return function? Well, the return function is the easy way to clean up an observer, right? It provides some way to tear down things you build up in the observer itself. So what's the purpose of an observable? So the purpose is to connect an observer to something that provides value. So you can think of a WebSocket as a provider of values, right? You're getting values over time. So an observer is a way to connect a WebSocket to an observable is a way to connect a WebSocket to an observer. So what does this all mean, right? These are just words. I'm just spouting words at you. It doesn't mean anything. We're all developers here, right? Let's see some code. Apologize for the tininess. Let's continue. If you have your computers out, if you search Ben Lesh learning observables by building observables, down here at the bottom, it's also very tiny. But yeah, I'm basically like borrowing very heavily.
Can you zoom in, then you command and plus?
Yeah, it's slow.
So I'm using this framework called Spectacle. So this whole slide presentation is a React app. It's really great. The problem is if you have a small screen and you try to do things like this, it works great for one slide, but the next slide, maybe not. So we'll just see how it goes. So there it is. Learning observables by building observables. Go back to code slide and awesome. It's back. All right, so we take that definition, a function that takes an observable and returns a function. What would that look like? So let's define a function, right? Let's call that function observable. And that function will take one argument, an observer, right? We're just naming things here. It's still, we're building this up in our minds, right? This is what we do as programmers. So what does this function look like inside? Well, this is where you define what it does inside, but there's a sort of contract, right? Let's create some source of information, some source of values or data. So this function here, create database connection, this is just something I'm making up, right? So it's just a function that creates a connection to some database, probably over WebSocket. That's not really an important bit. The important bit is it's going to give you data. It'll let you know if something's wrong, like an AJAX error or the internet just cut out. It'll also tell you if there are no more data, there is no more data coming down the pipeline, right? So see we have an observer here. We have this data source. This data source has 3 methods, right? These are just things I'm making up. But here, the observer I know has 3 methods as well. It has the next, it has the error, and it has the complete. So whenever I get a new piece of data, a new piece of information from this data source, I'm going to pass it to the next method of the observer. Whenever it errors, I'm going do the same thing. You're going to pass that error down to the observer. And then when the data source says, hey, there's no more data, right, I'm done. I'm also going to call the complete method on the observer. And the function I'm going to return is this function that just says, hey, disconnect and destroy the data source. Right? This is some way to tear it down. And what does the observer look like? Awesome. Again, it's just a plain old JavaScript object. And it has three methods: next, error, and complete. You see I have a nice little like console log and all this, right? Use your imagination. You put whatever you want in these three functions, right? So right now I'm just console logging, hey, I got an X. If I had error, I'm like, oh, error, throw it. The error log. And then on complete it says, hey, I'm done. That's it. No more. And then how do I use it? Well, it's a function. So I call it like a function. Pass in my observer, and I get back another function. I'm just going to call it cancel. That's it, right? Pretty simple, right? Does that make sense? Awesome. Now, what do I do with a cancel? Well, at some point in the future, I'm just going to call it and say, hey, I don't need any more information. I just want to cancel everything. This is very trivial, like, you know, I'm just calling set timeout. You wouldn't do that normally. You might, I don't know. But, you know, I wouldn't. But that's just an example, right? Ooh. I'm missing something. Oh yeah, no. Okay. So that's all well and good, but it's a little cumbersome right now, right? Define three methods. What happens if I don't want all three methods? What happens if my data source errors, but I'm still waiting for information, right? I don't know that it's completed. What if my complete is where I do other stuff to tear down outside of the context of that data source? So there's a contract that RxJS provides around the observer, right? LMS calls it the workforce of RxJS. So the observer has a couple guarantees. One, if you don't have all the methods, that's okay. You don't have to have next and error and complete for every time you create an observer. You don't want to call next if the source is completed or if the source is error, right? So if that's happening, something wrong.
Making something wrong.
So what's the waiting? Okay.
Oh, there you
So what is that?
go. Want completion all this is next.
Right. If I've unsubscribed or if I've canceled or if I've turned down, I don't want my onNext or my next method to continue to be called, right? It's my saying I have an intention to not listen to this anymore. So I want that to be a guarantee. Also, if the complete or error is called, I want my unsubscription logic to also be called. So if the data source errors, I want it to automatically destroy or tear down connections or get rid of objects, right? So I want that logic to happen automatically. I don't have to think about it every time I create an observable. If my observer throws, like my error, my incomplete has an error inside itself, right? I want that to be, to trigger the unsubscribe, the tear down logic automatically, right? I don't have to worry about it. I can't call the cancel method in my observer, so that's one contract thing. And next error and complete methods, let's make them all optional, right? Or what if I don't want to pass an object? What if I just want one function and just make the contract say, if I pass in a function as an observer, just turn that into observer with just the onNext, like the next method, right? So let's call this new thing safe observer. Safe observer. So the safe observer, let's use the same code we had before, but now let's wrap the observer passed into our observable function and make it safe. So again, we have the observable function, we're passing in the observer, and now we're going to call this new constructor, we're going to instantiate a new observer, call it safe observer. We're going to pass in the observer passed in by our user, right? And all this does is it guarantees 6 items we talked about before. Now we don't have to worry about it as a developer. Again, we're creating a data source, and now instead of using the observer passed in, we are using the observer that we create, the safe observer. And that way, if I don't define error or complete, then that's okay. I'm not going to get any errors about that. So here's the new observer. I'm only concerned about the next value and the error. I'm not really concerned if the data source completes. Right? I'm just going to let it hang. Okay? You wouldn't normally want to do that, but that's okay. But here I'm creating another observable as well, and this is just a plain function. Like I said, let's make it easy for the developer to create these observables, not think too much, right? As developers are kind of lazy. We want things to be easy. So here again, calling them the same thing, plain functions, and do cancels, and then sometime in the future, I want to unsubscribe, clean this stuff up, right? There are ways to make this a little more friendly. Right? Develop, it's great. This is why we love React. React is really develop friendly. Right? I've heard Angular 2 will now develop friendly.
I'm still using the Angular 1, man. Our stuff's old. I know. Trying to convince them to go to React.
And by the way, if you have questions, please stop me. I'll just keep going until question back. All right, so let's make this developer friendly. So instead of a function, let's create a constructor. And this thing will do all that safe observable wrapping stuff for us. So we don't even have to think about that either. Right? So now instead of calling a function with an observer, we're going to, instead of defining the function to create our observable, we're going to define a function as a callback and pass it into this observable constructor, right? This is what RxJS does. Instead of creating the functions themselves, we just pass in what we want to happen, right? And then let RxJS worry about all the safety stuff, all the performance stuff. So here now we're creating an instance of observable. We're passing in callback. So observer is made safe by the constructor itself. We don't have to worry about that. Again, we're creating data source. We're calling on an error, complete, and then we're just going to create a simple function as our observer, and instead of calling it as a function, now we're going to change this into an object with certain methods, and the method that we should concern ourselves with is the subscribe method. So now the subscribe takes the observer instead of calling it directly like a function. And what this does is it handles all that logic for us, and now the observable maintains kind of the state in itself. So we don't have to worry about things like calling next after an error, or if an error happens, calling complete, tearing down. It does that stuff for us. And we get that cancel. Again, if we want to cancel some later date, we can. Does this make sense so far? Does anyone have questions? Great. I'm going to assume everyone is just soaking it in. Awesome. So now what about operators, right? So far I've showed you could do with event handlers, right? There's nothing really fantastic about it. The great thing about RxJS is it's composable, right? You can take one observable, take another observable, put them together, manipulate the stream, just go cross streams, right? So let's create an operator, right? So with arrays, right, the array method map, we can take an array and convert it into another array with the items, the individual items themselves mapped over. So let's create this map method, map function. So again, we have the same developer-friendly observable here, but now let's create this mapping method, right? So let's define this function. It takes two arguments, the source and a project function. So this project function is something you create, right? Whenever you call array.map, you're passing in a function. It's going to get each item of the map, each item of the array, and turn it into another item, right? Whatever you define it to be. It's the same thing with observables, right? We pass in the observable and callback function, and inside it's going to create a new observable. And in that observable, it's going to pass in a new type of observer. Same thing, next, error, complete, but now in the next, instead of passing the value directly, we're going to pass the value first to the project function, and then pass that return to the observer. And what's the observer? Well, when you pass in your observer, it's going to get passed into this thing, and it's going to like populate, and you're going to get this value that you expect. So what does that mean? You see here, observer.next object x, right? And again, we're returning, instead of returning a function, right, we're returning the cancel from the inner source subscribe. Now here we're going to create our observer. This time we're just going to console log. So before, in the previous example, I'm console logging times 5, right? Well, we can easily move that logic into some other part. We just want to console log. So instead, we create this map observable. So we pass in our previous observable as a first argument. The second argument is our callback. Right? So we take x and we multiply x by 5. And now what we get in return is another observable. We subscribe to that one with our observer, and we get a cancel function in return. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes. Awesome. And again, we got a cancel function. We can use that at some later time. So to make this a little more succinct, like we don't want to keep passing in our previous observable as the first argument. We're going to end up with kind of a Lisp language where you're going to end up writing closure script in your JavaScript. So instead, let's make a chainable, right? We're all familiar with chaining functions, right? A lot of people here, if anyone ever used this thing called jQuery? 2 hands? So let's make a chainable. How do we do that? Well, now we have this observer constructor, right? It's a function, prototype. We can just add methods to it. So let's do that. Instead of making our map plain function, we're going to make our map a method attached to the prototype of the observable. So here, we create our observable. But also, we're going to extend the prototype of the observable itself. Same function as before, but now instead of passing in the source, right, the observable wrapping, we're going to use the context of that instance, which is the this, as the source. Because when you use array methods, right, you're not calling capital A array.map, you're calling capital A.prototype.map. Same idea, right? The source, this context is the value holder itself. In the case of arrays, the this is the instance of the array. In the case of observables, the this is the instance of the observable. And now how do we use that? So let's create our observer again, just simply console logging the values out. And now, off our observable instance, we just call .map. And the only thing we need to pass in is our callback, or our project function. We're just multiplying by 5 and console logging that out. Again, you get a cancel function to clean up some later time. So far, everyone's good? 100%? So, one question I get is, we have promises. Why do we need observables, right? How many people have heard of promises? It's great, Last. It's JavaScript. So, how do they relate to promises? So, promises have 2 big disadvantages. You can't cancel a promise. How many people have heard of the fetch API? Fetch, new fetch, cool kid on the block in the browser. A big debate, one little downside is you can't cancel something you're fetching mid fetch. Right? As soon as you launch it, it's gonna get that data and it's gonna bring it back. You can't cancel it, right? XHR request, you can abort, right? That's a great feature. You save bandwidth, you do all that nice stuff. You can't do that with promises. One huge downside, promises are eager, which means as soon as you create them, they're doing their business. Observables, on the other hand, are lazy. Right? They don't want to do anything. So instead, you have to call subscribe. So when you call subscribe, that's when it triggers. That's why you can reuse an observable. Because you just need to call subscribe on the same instance, and then create the cancel, and then it'll do its logic and do the async and all that nice stuff. Also, another huge advantage that observables have over promises is multi-value. So promise is a single thing, right? I want this JSON file at some URL. That's all you get, one single JSON file. With observables, the same thing as array. There's array methods, arrays. It's essentially an array over time. You get multiple values. They can happen at any time in the future. So if you listen to WebSocket, right, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done, right? It could be like, here's a message, and then an hour later, here's another message, and 2 minutes later, here's another message, right? You can't really do that with promises. You get a new promise every time you subscribe to WebSocket. So there's no real promise-based WebSocket stuff. Another thing. Promises are always asynchronous. They always happen on the next event loop, right? A lot of people have this misconception that observables are an async thing, right? The thing is, you define what the observable does. So if you want it to be async, then it's async. But you can define the stuff inside your observable to happen synchronous. So it happens all in line. There might be some funny stuff between version 4 and version 5 of RxJS. I'm pretty sure the default is to be synchronous unless you tell it to be asynchronous. Of course, if you tell your observable to fetch something from data by default, or fetch something from your server, by default that's asynchronous, right? You can't make that synchronous in JavaScript. I think those points themselves kind of tell you why observables are pretty awesome. But I think we need some examples. First, let's talk about how do you do observables in Redux. So in Redux, there are a couple ways that you can do async stuff. So how many people, again, if you use Redux on a daily basis, can you raise your hand? Awesome. What is the main library that you use to do async stuff? So you have to do request, thunk, right? It's thunk. So I actually used thunk for the first time last week. As soon as I started using Redux, or Flux even, I was like, how do I do this with observables? So before Redux, I created this library called RxJS. It's still up there. It's really old, so don't use it. I really had a lot of fun building it, and I got a really cool logo build and stuff. And then Redux came out, and I was like, but yeah, I've never used Redux Thunk. RxJS, to me, is the default way things should be done. Side effects. I'm jumping out of order here. So side effects, essentially in Redux, everything is synchronous, right? You just dispatch an action. That action goes to your middleware, to your reducer, and then the reducer does its logic and returns state, and that state goes back to the store, and then the store emits, and then it emits to your React app, and then it sets states, and then that's where like the break in the synchronous happens, right? And we want that because that was a huge problem with like backbone apps and jQuery is you have all these like events happening, and these events trigger other event listeners, and those event listeners trigger other event listeners, and then you don't know why your app just blew up on your customers, and all this nonsense. So that's why we want everything in Redux to be synchronous. But the problem arises is how do I do async stuff? How do I fetch in terms of the Redux world? So that's where Redux stuff comes into play. There's also Redux promise, which is pretty similar. I have here some examples of async stuff you would want to do. Stuff I've done in Redux. Make a request to the server. Let's create a counter that ticks every second. Write some stuff with local storage, right? Normally we just do that in a primitive way. We just call local storage dot set item, right? But that's not really a functional way of doing things. What about changing document title property, or if you're shifting between pages using React Router? That doesn't necessarily update your document.title, right? So let's do that in Redux, but that's a side effect. We can't do that in Reducer. You can't do that anywhere besides an async area. So Thunk would be the answer there, right? But I think Redux stuff is fine. I just feel like it's not a very good paradigm to do async stuff in Redux. Authentication, reading cookies, initiating and listening to WebSockets. That is what you want to use observables for. So that's kind of like, it wasn't built for that, but it was built for. So we're gonna just discuss, so Redux Thump, Redux Promises, those are the main ones that have been around the block for a while, right? But there are two new players, right? Redux Saga and Redux Observable. There was a third that I created, Redux-Epic, but kind of Redux Observable overtook it, so that sucks. But Redux Observable is pretty nice, so I'll talk about it. How many people here know about Redux Saga? Awesome. How many of you were confused by the term Saga? Awesome. It's great, because I was really confused as well. Apparently, some backend people were also very confused, because Saga means something completely different in that world, but we won't talk about that. So I'm mainly going to focus on Redux Saga, Redux Observables, So why are epic? So I'm going to use the term epic in place of the term saga. For two reasons. One, saga means something else already in the programming world. The same way that FRP means something else in the programming world. People still use the term saga. People still use the term FRP to describe RxJS, even though it's not really FRP, but everyone calls it FRP. So I'm just like, okay, we'll just call it FRP because everyone knows what FRP is. Yeah, I'm going over it. So why are epics or sagas better for doing logic? One thing is you're putting everything in one place. All your complex logic, all your async stuff happens in one place in little concrete packets, right? With thunks, you're kind of like throwing stuff away or throwing stuff in. I'll get into it, but yeah. The other thing about thunks and promises is your action creators aren't really action creators. Well, at least with thunks, right? Your action creator is actually an action creator creator, right? It creates an action creator, and then that thing creates actions for you. So to me, that's not really outside the paradigm of Redux, right? Redux doesn't really care about your action creators; it just cares about your actions. But to me, dispatching a function is kind of weird, right? It didn't make sense. And dispatching the promise, the same thing. I always thought of an action creator as, in functional terms, it's a map, right? You take data in and outcomes data in a specific format. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't adopt that right away. So when Redux Saga came along, I was like, great, this is great, except, generators. Who the hell likes generators? I mean, how many people here use generators? So 5 people out of those 5 people, how many of you love generators? Yeah, so generators are kind of a cool thing, kind of. How many people here have heard of the book The Gang of Four? Right? Great. I'm glad you know that title because I don't know the actual title. Design patterns, right? Object-oriented design patterns, great. So there's a bunch of patterns in that. There's 2 patterns in there, the generator pattern, the observable pattern. I don't remember who talks about this, but I think it's Matt Podwosky, the creator of RxJS. There's this nice little map they created of all the patterns, and they're all like interconnected in different ways, but generator one pattern is here, and then the observable pattern is over here. They're not connected. But in reality, they're kind of like the 2 sides of the same coin, right? An observable pushes things at you, right? It subscribes to some data source, and then as soon as it gets the data, it tells you, here's data, data for me. A generator, on the other hand, you pull data out of it, right? You call the next function on it, and it gives you the next piece of data as an object wrapped value. So how does this tie into Redux? Well, in Redux, we're kind of like responding to actions, right? We're reacting to actions. Right? Some action happened, side effect. Action happened, change my state. It's reacting. You're not pulling the next action, and then, oh, I get this action, now I'm going to do this. You're just letting it happen, letting it flow. So generators, to me, don't really fit that pattern. So if I kind of like go back and actually go to the order of my slides here, Redux Saga, so it creates a very specific API. This very specific API applies only to this very specific library. So one, already you're learning stuff that doesn't apply anywhere else, and you're using generators. So I'm defining a function, and this function, I'm calling it Saga, but I'm going to refer to it as Epic just to reduce the confusion. I know a lot of people probably already confused already. So this function, right, is a generator function. You see we have these like weird syntax things, right? So if you're not familiar with generators, you don't really know what's going on here. So you use function star, what's that? Is it the same thing as a plain function? No, it's a generator. Oh, thanks. So now we have this yield star. What's that doing? I don't know. And it's calling this function. I think it's calling this function, and then it's passing in this action type, and it's passing in another function. Right? So I guess it says take every, maybe it says take every increment async type action, and then call this increment async function. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Let's go to the next bit. Oh, here's another one. Here's this is also a generator function. And what does this do? Well, there's the yield again. There's no star. Okay. Now there's this function called call. Oh, delay. Delay makes sense, right? We're familiar with delay. We just wait a certain amount of time. So it's like we're waiting 1,000 seconds. Okay, so we get this increment async, and we're calling this function. Now it says, okay, wait 1,000 seconds. Okay, and then what? Oh, then put. What does put mean? Right? No hands. I don't know. So I guess it's we're creating this action type increment, passing it into the put. So I'm guessing every time we get async increment, we wait a second and then emit another action. Okay, that's great, right? It's all compact. I'm sure this is super easy to test. You don't have to set up via store or some dispatch stuff. You can just call this function itself, and I guess you pass in pick every somehow. It's generator magic. This is why I just like generators, right? It's introducing a whole bunch of new stuff that can be done outside using plain methods and plain objects and plain functions. There's one area where generators are great. Does anyone know where that area is? Back pressure? Yeah, actually back pressure. RxJS is not that great for back pressure yet. It's happening. Infinite lists. Right? So if you need an infinite list, like the Fibonacci sequence, use a generator. It works. Anything else? There's better things. So here comes Redux Observable. So Redux Observable has the same idea. I'm going to go to a little aside here about Redux-Epic. So I created Redux-Epic a while back when I abandoned Thundercast.js for Redux, and I was like, hey, Redux Saga is a thing. I want to make Redux Saga but use RxJS. So I created that, and I was like, great, this is fantastic. I released a library. I did no publicity. I didn't tell anyone about it. Well, I did, but no one used it. So, I'm happy coding along at Free Code Camp. I'm using epics everywhere. I was still calling them sagas. I didn't know better. I'm calling them epics. You should call them epics. And then I was like, Redux Observable. Well, Redux Observable when it first came out was very different. Right? It's not kind of the epic saga style. It was like Duck style, where instead of passing actions, plain objects into the dispatch, you're passing in a function that returns an observable. They quickly realized that there is a better pattern, and they independently arrived at essentially the same API that I did. And when I saw that, I was like, oh great, that looks cool. And they already have this big, community built around it, and it's a slightly better API. And so okay, I'm just going to go over here. So let's talk about observables. So again, we know that observables are very powerful. We can do a lot of things, put them together. So unlike Redux Saga, it's a much smaller API. We're not creating new functions like take, until, or push, or put, or dinosaur. I don't know what else we're creating. Server-side data prefetching. So this is something that Redux Observable doesn't do yet. Redux-Epic did. So I'm going to work with the Redux Observable guys to get this put together. So it's not there yet. I haven't had time to really dig into it. There might be other people much more intelligent than me putting this together, but it's like a race. We'll see. So what is an epic? Again, it's just a plain function, but instead of a generator, it's just a plain function. And we're going to get a single argument. The actions argument, what is that? Well, actions argument is an observable. It emits actions. Makes sense, right? So now what are we doing here? So we're returning the result of this chain. First thing we see, actions of type. Now we're passing in an action type. So it says every time you see this action type, pass it through. So essentially, of type is just filtering a stream of items from an observable stream. We're getting the switch map method. So what does the switch map method do? It's the same thing as a map method, except it expects observables instead of items. And when it sees an observable, it's going to subscribe to that observable and emit those items. So essentially, like flatten. So many people are familiar with flatten, array.flatten. Right? So it's essentially the same thing. So it used to be called flat map. It's now like flat map latest. So this is switch map. There's a lot of name changes happening in RxJS 5. So essentially, I'm going to create a new observable every time I get this action. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this API service. I'm going to read it, and it's going to return an observable to me. And then I'm going to map over the result of that, and I'm going to pass that result into an action creator and return that. And I'm going to add a catch here. So catch, anyone guess what catch does? Is that promise.catch? Right? It's the same thing. Right? If an error happens upstream, it calls this catch method, and it passes you that error to this callback that you pass in. Except the difference in promises is you have to explicitly turn it into an observable, whatever you return from that catch. And that's it. It was a very complex kind of idea of what's going on. So every time I say, hey, fetch my challenges. Okay, let me hit this API point, map over the results, and I'm going to give you a stream of actions. And you pass that to the switch map. Switch map says, hey, I got an action type, give me that promise or that observable. Now I'm going to subscribe to that observable. Every time that observable emits an action, I'm going to dispatch it. So now your dispatch is somewhere else. You don't have to worry about it. You're just taking in a stream of actions. You're passing out a stream of actions. So still kind of a little abstract. So I'm going to talk about this thing called autocomplete. How many people have ever implemented an autocomplete? Sweet. How many people did it without using a library? Just Ajax and functions. That's awesome. It's not fun, right? Okay, so how do I do that in RxJS with Redux? So again, I'm going to create a function, autocomplete epic. It's going to get an action stream. And this isn't really that important, but hey, search the wiki is my action type, right? And then I'm going to map over that action and pass back the payload of that action. So I'm not going to worry about the rest of the action. So here are the important bits. I've labeled these operators individually with numbers. So keep that in mind. So the first thing we'll do is, let's say this action is coming from a key up or key down, or key event, right? So I'm getting the payload itself is the event object you normally get on a key up callback. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, yes. Awesome. So the event object is this DOM thing. So we're calling the .target property and grabbing the .value property off that. So that's the value of the input field. So we're mapping that. So we're passing in events and getting out text. So now we're going to filter the text. There's only two characters in there. I'm not going to go do a search, right? That doesn't make sense. I'm going to search for at. So I'm going to filter, right? Everyone understands filter, right? So if the text is larger than 2, pass it down. If not, filter it out. I'm not going to even go downstream. Downstream, I'm going to have a debounce. People are familiar with debounce, right? That's awesome. So I'm going to debounce for 500 milliseconds. So I'm going to wait until they stop typing for 500 milliseconds and then pass it downstream. Now this is a kind of a new one, distinct until changed. Anyone guess what this means? Right. We're waiting for unique values. And then 5, another switch map, right? You're familiar with switch map. It's going to give you an item, and it's going to expect an observable, and it's going to take that observable, and then each item is going to pass it downstream. So here I'm going to say, here's the text. I'm going to pass this function search Wikipedia. So that's going to make an XHR request and return to me an observable, and that observable is going to encapsulate the information needed that once that XHR request is completed, it's going to give me that value. If that XHR request fails, it's going to pass that error down the pipeline, it goes the pipe down, and once it's completed, I'm going to know about it. Every time switch map, it's a new text, it's going to cancel the previous request, and it's still in flight. So we don't have to like eat up data and stuff. It's great. So next step, this is 6. 6 is in search Wikipedia. Trust me, it's there. So 7, I'm going to get the response. I'm going to map over it. So I'm getting this XHR object back from the search Wikipedia function. So I'm going to map over that. I get the response. 8, I'm going to filter again. So if the data, so this is specific to the Wikipedia API. So if the data line, so data is an array. If it's less than 2 or equal to 2, I'm going to pass it down. If not, and it's a malformed request, I'm just going to filter out. I'm not going to pass anything downstream. So as long as the array has at least 2 items, I'm going down. And then 9 and 10, I'm going to get the results from this, and I'm going to pass it into this. I'm going to create an action out of it, and that's it. I'm going to pass that down. It's going to get dispatched, and then somewhere else the React state is going to be updated, and my autocomplete form will pop out. Right? So overall, it's kind of simple, right? You have step, 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 step. Pretty simple. I'm not incredibly telling it to do an XHR request. Blah blah. So what does that look like? This is going to be tricky because I'm going to go here, hand-like coordination, and then do that. It still works. Oh, there you go. So if I do. So we're not making searches until. It's like the easiest autocomplete you can do without using .autocomplete. So it's, it's kind of hard to grasp. It's really like it's crazy. Like it's super easy to implement that. How would you do that without RxJS? How would you do that? It works. Awesome. I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is how you do it imperatively, but it's kind of like you have to define the functions before you can use them, so I'm going to have to jump around. So I apologize for the jumpiness. So here we go. And also, I didn't create this. I saw this pop up in my feed. I was like, whoa, I've never seen this before. So the credits go to Oliver Jash on GitHub. So the first thing I'm going to do, so here are the numbers again. I'm going to map. So again, I'm using an imperative. You can see here, key up callback. So I'm using an event listener or something like that, and I'm going to grab the value of the input field, map. I'm going to filter here, and we use an if imperative, right? So I'm going to use the if. I'm going to tell it if this thing, call this method. If not, do nothing. So I'm going to call the debounce now. So I'm going to use debounce search. I'm wrapping my search function in the lodash debounce thing. And then 4, distinct until change. Well, how do you do that? Well, you save the previous value. So you can see up here somewhere, there's a let equals previous value undefined, and then when I get a new value, I'm going to set it to that. And then when I get a new value, check it against the previous value. And if they're not the same, then I'm going to search Wikipedia, passing that value. And then 5 here is switch map. So switch map is, hey, if there's a previous XHR request, in flight, call the .abort, abort that thing, and then create a new SSR overriding the old one, right? So that means we have to make sure the previous one is undefined initially, and then set it to the new one. And then I'm going to do the XSR open, send, and then I'm going to return a promise. And this promise is going to listen to the resolve and reject the XSR request. And then I'm going to pass that back here, and then I'm going to use the map. So the .then is really interesting. So promise kind of fits in the same kind of functional linguistic stuff. So it's technically a map function and a flat map function. So if you pass a value, print value, it gets wrapped in promise, and then that promise itself is passed down the chain. Then you call it .then. That's why you can then the promises. If you pass back a promise, and it doesn't rewrap it, you get two promises. It passes that back to you, and then you call .then. So it's essentially a map and a flat map. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting this XSR request from my search Wikipedia function, and then I'm mapping over the response. And then, how do you filter a promise? Hope for the best. Yeah, so then hopefully my data array has at least 2 items, so I'm going to grab the first one, hopefully it's an actual thing, and then I missed the spot here, but you can kind of see it. So here we're checking to make sure that the thing actually returned the value instead of null. And then I'm going to then over that promise, if it's an actual promise, and that's my result object. And then I'm just calling this .setState. We're not in the context of React, so this is kind of demonstrating that this is where you would send it back into the React world and display your data to your user. So, thank you for coming down this journey of comparatively creating an autocomplete. Yeah, so, Redux Observables, RxJS Observables, it's really great, very powerful. I insist you try to use them and try them out, see how you like them. I'm just going to give you one more thing. So how do I use this library in the context of Redux? So just like most things, you import your specific functions and objects from your specific library. So Redux, pulling in my create store, apply middleware. From Redux Observable, I'm pulling in combine epics and create epic middleware. Just epic. It sounds good, right? And I'm also importing my epics. So my epics is an array. Each individual item is a function which qualifies as an epic. It expects an action stream, and it's going to return another stream of actions. So I'm going to create a root epic. Call combine epics. I'm going to use the spread operator so that each individual argument in that combined epics is an individual epic. And then combined epic is going to give you one function that wraps all those, and that one function is also an epic. And then I'm going to create a reducer, it's just a identity function. And then I'm creating epic middleware, and I'm passing in my root epic, and I get this epic middleware back. It's awesome. And then I'm going to create my store, and passing my reducer, and I'm calling the applied middleware, just like you would do it in any other Redux function, and then that's it, you get your store. So Redux Observables, try it out, it's really awesome. And questions? Question?
Why even bother using this?
Hey, just use Angular too.
Why?
Raw React as well.
I mean, why bother using Redux when it sounds like it's you can just use it?
Yeah, so
Or RxJS.
I mean, CycleJS is a thing. It's pretty cool. You take that idea, like why use Redux if you can just do a lot of powerful things with Redux or observables. Yeah, well, it's kind of the same idea with React. Why use React when you can just use observables? So CycleJS is that idea. So a CycleJS app, you create a function, it gives you inputs, and you return output, which is just DOM stuff, just like React, but just that's it, you know. And there's a really good Egghead tutorial. So if you have an Egghead subscription, there's a tutorial written by the guy that created CycleJS, and he essentially shows you how he created CycleJS. So CycleJS built apps using nothing but RxJS and DOM stuff. It's great. Any other questions?
So it seems uncannily similar to Redux Auto and Redux Web.
Right.
Like down to like how you implement it, and down to like the way that you kind of like change it to deal with side effects.
Right.
But so as far as testing goes, I think one of the limitations for Sagas I found was like, yes, they say it's very easy to test, but then in order to do existing tests, it's kind of trickier.
Thank you for saying that, by the way, because I've always wondered about that. You say it's really
It's
easy.
nice. It's nice with tape. It doesn't work that well with other things. So,
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt your question.
no. Mostly, I'm wondering like, what is testing like with observables, and like how does it fit well with all the React stuff?
What testing framework do you use? Mocha. So it is kind of a hurdle. Again, RxJS itself is kind of this idea you have to comprehend, and just talking about it, listening about stuff doesn't really implant the ideas into your mind. You actually have to go and use it. I've known about RxJS when I started developing, but I didn't actually start using it until way later, and that was because I did some tutorials and started playing with it, and I was like, wow, this is really powerful. So with testing, it's kind of the same idea. Once you understand what RxJS is doing, it's not too hard to test. RxJS 4 was difficult. We didn't really have a lot of tools to test individually. RxJS 5 has this really new testing idea where you essentially create a bitmap of what you expect return from your observable. And that bitmap, which is just like ASCII keys, right? --x --x. I know it just sounds like Morse code, but it's doing things, trust me. And then you pass that into this thing, and you pass in your observable, and it gives you a thing of all the values that expected, and it says, hey, this test passed or didn't. There's also this library called Ava. Have you heard of Ava? So Ava has a very similar API to Tape, except Tape is bare bones. Tape doesn't give you anything. It even consumes console logs, so if you're trying to debug while testing, you're going to have a bad day. But Ava is really great, and it has first-pass support for promises, and it has first-pass support for observables. So in your test, you can just pass an observable in your function, and it does that. I haven't tried it with Mocha. I think there's probably a Mocha extension to use observables. It's still, not the greatest. There are a lot of promises with RxJS 5, so hopefully I'll try it out and I'll let you know. Any other questions? Good night, everybody.
So like, trigger the motion sensor, please ignore me.
Awesome. Well, if there's not any more questions. Yeah, good. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Before everybody breaks too, does anybody have a lightning talk to give? Let's start there. No? In that case, I guess we can just break for the night then. So thank you to Ben, and thank you to Berkeley and Real React. So if you want to talk to them, go talk to them. They're in the back there about Real React and their workshop. And thank you to our sponsors, and have a good night.
Hey guys, I do have one quick student announcement. If you've heard of Hack Oregon, anyone here heard of Hack Oregon? So their project season is about to start. If you just go on Eventbrite and search Hack Oregon Donut, just kick off the event on the 9th. They'll tell you how to contribute. Yeah.
I think we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna talk about it.
I know. You're having a little party right now.
That's the premise of it.
I know, yeah, they were doing that until they got back.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly you're thinking about outside stuff, Flexbox, inside I remember the idea of responsive
I know they like stuff when I was using Flexbox. Yeah, so like pretty much everything I went to was like kind of back.
Yeah, it's better to use Flexbox and also like some of that scientific stuff. You guys seem to want to add centering at the very top level, which usually Flux. If you do an aligned item center and just like content center at the top level, that means that everything down below then must have defined width, which is a lot of that's why you're having to define width and multiply it times 0.5. If you don't do that and then just align with you can align itself. If you just align at the levels that you need and then like to center stuff, you can define like basically right in the line that right here and then set container function and that will then basically say take up this amount of space and this is your second content. So you don't actually have to say Flexbox is continues to work and you don't have to define space like for your buttons. So Flex direction, Flex 1, say it all way, add and set it all out. Space that minus 2. You decide how you want to divide.
So that's how like that's where
also a lot of the that is a lot of Flexbox properties, especially if you use 0.49 and you add a Flex 0 and Flex 3 and your Flex basis.
Did I get in there?
Yeah, I'm sure you did.